So my journey in stock removal, had a few questions lately, and yeah, people have been asking where I'm at and where I started and how it all came about. So I'm just going to do a quick little video and cover where I'm at so far with my stock removal, which was predominantly what I do. So yeah, here it goes. So where did it all start? Well, in the beginning, this is the first knife I ever made. A little hunting knife. Back in the day on apprentice wage, yeah, didn't have a lot to work with in the way of money, so it came down to the choice between a fly rod or a decent hunting knife. Back then you didn't have your Amazons and your AliExpress and your Temus, so yeah, you had to pay a bit of money to get something decent. So I bought the fly rod, as you can tell, and I made that. If you can see that, that's made out of, actually, I think it's SAF 2205 stainless steel, because that's the industry I've been in for most of my life. We had a bit of offcut, so yeah, I created that. So that was the beginning, first knife I ever made, and I used it for quite a long time. Well, 2 years to be fair. The handle, full tang, 2 stainless pins roughly beaten together, and I think that's Indonesian hardwood, or that's what somebody who should know told me. Came off a packing crate, so I put it on there. It's quite comfortable, quite a good knife to use. The only problem is with SAF 2205, having said that, didn't try any heat treatment because it doesn't really tend to heat treat all that well. So it won't hold an edge. You can get it razor sharp, no question about that, but it won't hold an edge. So every time I took it out, I had to resharpen it. Still used it, still functional, filleted fish with it, done all the rest of the things I had to do. But yeah, I needed something a little bit better than that. So still like the design. Might make another one another day, but not out of that. So that was the first one. Where I went from there, I had an old Hilux Surf, and I don't know about other countries, but in this country down here at the bottom of the world, we have to get a warrant of fitness on our vehicles to keep them legal on the roads. So the old Hilux Surf needed some more leaves put in the springs. So talking to the guys, they gave me a piece of quite staunch leaf spring. It's about 12 mil on the tang there. They gave me that. So that's what I made from there. If you can see that. And this is a great knife. If you're getting into knife making and you don't have a lot of gear or a lot of knowledge, then this is what you can do. I absolutely love this blade, and I always have. I cut it out. All I used to make this, I cut out the profile with an oxyacetylene plant, cut that out. I would have used files, 5-inch grinder, and have a look at my video on an Abbott and Ashby Linisher sanding grinding machine, and that's all I used to make it. I don't remember hand sanding it, but it's quite a good finish on it. It's got a bit of a, what do you call it, bit of a pause in the video there. Camera battery went flat, but we're back on track again now. So we're back to this old, I suppose you call it a Bowie. It's got a bit of a hollow grind in it. Again, did that with a 5-inch grinder. Yeah, come up really, really good. Bit of a feathered edge too. This is, I'd imagine, spring steel, like I said, and that's all the tools I use to make it. And this has functioned and done the business really well for, oh, I suppose I used it for 20 years. Would have made it back in the 80s. Got a bit of a curve in it, which gives it a bit of character. One thing I will do is I will put my maker's mark on it, which I haven't done yet. I hardened and tempered it with the oxyacetylene thing as well, the plant as well. And I tempered it and used sump oil out of my Datsun 1200, because that's all I had. And yeah, it's just great. It's not exactly razor sharp, but yeah, it is still cut, no worries at all. And that's after being used for, I probably would have been 3 years since I sharpened the thing after I stopped using it. So yeah, that was the next knife, the second knife I ever made. That's retired now. If you're looking at the table, there's a few knives left over. Most of them are for sale if come to the right price. That one there is not for sale at any price. Made a pine box for it, and a dirty old sheath. Got a bit of history. I'm pretty sure the leather from this sheath came from a pair of riding chaps that my grandfather used to use when they worked bulls off the back of a horse. And that's all I could get out of it, so I made the sheath. Nice. Love that blade. So that was that one, second knife I ever built. And from there I moved on. So like I say, most of my stuff's stock removal. This one here, and we'll come back to it in a minute also. No, wrong one. Get the right one. This one here. This one here was actually a bit more of the leftover leaf spring. You can't see now, but I did forge that one. I made a fatal mistake when I tempered it, because I tempered it in water and it cracked. Had a lot of chipping in the blade and everything else. I still used it, but I've since refurbished it, cleaned it up, put a maker's mark on it, and put a, it was full tang, now it's hidden tang. A few mistakes on it, and you do make mistakes. I don't know if you can see that, I've bust through there, but I've filled it back up. It's got the brass hand guard on it, and I'm not sure what that wood is there. It stabilised something, but this is Remu. I like my Remu handles. Again, few flaws, few mistakes, but overall great knife, love it. That's my fishing knife now, and that's what I predominantly use. So that was the beginning of my knife making career, as it were, till I moved up here to this little part of the world and got back into the fly fishing. And from the fly fishing came this, the Twister Mark III. Got a little video on that as well, and I used to have stainless jaws on it, but then I changed over and thought I'd make myself some hardened steel jaws. So I did that, made some hardened steel jaws out of the old leaf spring, this here being a piece of leaf spring. Quite often on the leaf spring you get a taper on the end, so I had a few offcuts that weren't thick enough for the jaws. So I thought, what will I do with that? So I thought I'll make myself some knives. And once again, if you're looking at getting into it, you don't need a lot of gear. When I started doing it in this little garage, all I had was the Abbott & Ashby 5-inch grinder, files and sandpaper is pretty much it, and a drill press. And then my good lady wife said to me, well, why don't you make more knives if that's what you're into? And I said, well, I haven't got the gear, haven't got the space, haven't got everything else. And she made me see it in a better light. Instead of focusing on what I don't have, focus on what you do have. She said, why don't you go and clean the garage out and make it work? So that's exactly what I did. So I did a few experiments, started making knives, got a circular saw blade, this little kitchen knife thing here. Ooh, grab that off, actually that's the second one. This was the first one I made, that's my experimental sharpening knife now, I use it for all sorts of things. That's got a Remu handle as well. Yeah, pretty good, pretty nice little knife, but it's a bit thick for a kitchen knife. So you live and learn, you get things right. Nowadays, to be honest, it's mainly used as a lever, but I do open boxes with it. Just general cutting in the garage here, so that was that. Back to the circular saw blade, wherever it went, here it is, this little kitchen knife, made it for the wife. But for some reason, yeah, it's made its way back out here. If you watch my little video on the bayonet restoration, you can see this poked under the piece of wood when I'm hand sanding it. So it's got a lot of uses. No idea what the steel was, but I heat treated it. Like I said, a circular saw blade, a very old one, and that holds an edge really good too. So pretty happy with that. So once I got those processes sorted, I moved on to these. Moved on to the old 4-inch, I call it a 4-inch bushcraft. Would I go smacking it into a hunk of wood with another hunk of wood? Probably not. But yeah, I like that design. I came up with that design. So I've got a few variations of that. Trying different handles and so forth and so on. I don't know if you can see this clear enough. That's got a honeycomb handle on it. Reason, I find them a bit thin, so I've added some G10 liners. So from there, I went and thought, well, I need to put them in something, so I ended up making these sheaths. I make a sheath, usually make them cross carry like that. Opens up, fits in your belt, and you can carry it. I like the cross carry personally because I can sit down in the car when I'm going from fishing spot to fishing spot, and that works for me really, really good. So that's the old 4-inch bushcraft. Of course, to make the sheaths, I get into the leather work, and to be honest, I'm not great at it, but I do enjoy doing it. So for that, I got out what was left of the circular saw blade and made that little head knife, or half head knife, whatever you want to call it. Bit of a trick to sharpen them, but I got my head around that. So that was where I was at. Yeah. So using what I had, I've missed one out, this old beast here. Again, when I moved up to this part of the world, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but we've got a lot of hydro canals which have some salmon running in them, and they're not particularly small salmon, a lot of them. It's not that long ago when you could regularly catch 10, 12 pounders, no problem at all. So I wanted something a little bigger that I could stun them. So I came up with that. I call it a pig sticker, but that one's never stuck a pig. I'll get it in the middle. If you look on my website, you'll see what it was originally. It's a full tang, sort of a Coke bottle handle on it, just experimenting with that. I don't like it here now, it's too thin. I got that a little bit wrong in my opinion. Other people like it. It's very comfortable in the hand. This one here is a little bit interesting because when I made it, again, I quenched that in water. Bit of a mistake because you won't see it on the video there, but there's cracks running up through there and there's a crack running through there. I needed it. To use it that weekend, so I thought, bugger it, I'll just weld it up. So I welded up the cracks with 309 wire and cleaned them off, and yeah, never had a problem with it. So that was that beastie. So I'll put that away. So yeah, that's where I went to. So from there, of course, somebody once said you're not a knife maker unless you got a kitchen knife. So I started to make a few kitchen knives. Originally, yeah, not ideal, but there's a good example there, my kitchen knife. Made that again, pretty good, pretty cool, practiced with it. Didn't cut particularly well, so that's when I went to my 2x72 that I made and made myself a carpet platen, and it was a flat grind, but I still had enough meat in there, so I put on a convex grind, and now it releases the food and it works really great. So I've got that sorted out. I think that's a great kitchen knife. Having said that, I thought, right, I like to eat a little bit of meat now and again, so I'll make myself a carving knife. And that's where I went to there, the old carving knife. That's my designer carving knife. Having said that as well, that's the one, the wife, she loves that knife. Don't know why, she cuts everything with it. That's the one she chooses 9 times out of 10. So there you go. So mainly what I use, you'll probably get the picture. I've got some 1084 to make some other things with. I use a lot of spring steel or whatever I can get my hands on. It started with the fly vices, so spring steel was the right size to just cut the pieces off and go from there. So that was those ones. I went from the bushcraft to the 6-inch drop point, like that one there. When we go fishing, always generally go fishing to the canals with my beautiful wife, so she thought she might want a knife as well. Oh, stop. So that's where that one came from. You'll note, if you can get it close enough in there, it's a lot thinner. So again, another experiment. Full tang, the brass on the front, and she loves it. She absolutely loves it, and anyone who's come and had a look at what I make, they love those too. So that's a good design, I like those. Sheath work, I've put a weave pattern on that one. I don't do many of those because it's a huge amount of work. So we'll put those away. Those are good little knives. I prefer to take a little 4-inch one now rather than a big Bowie. That one, like I said, is retired, so that ain't going anywhere. And there we are. So yeah, that's a big part of the journey so far. I thought I'd experiment too, and got into my kitchen knives. So this one here is a little bit different. I bought a piece online of 440C stainless steel, which is, to be fair, as hard as a coffin nail. It came hardened and tempered. Used twice the amount of belts to put that bevel on as I would for a normal kitchen knife. Not that one, this one. Probably, yeah, at least twice the amount of belts. The 440C is, I don't know if it's the best stainless for making knives, but this one does hold an edge, holds an edge incredibly. Very good. That one, if you watch my video on PVC sheath, that's going north to my mother because she's having trouble with her kitchen knives. So she can have that one, pretty happy with that. So that's all cool. I went on and did some more experiments. This one here is quite a big kitchen knife. I quite like that one too, but that was a prototype type of thing, so that's just got a pine handle screwed on there, no epoxy, and just put it together and it works really good. Again, didn't cut too well, so I came out and put a convex grind on it, and it's done the business. Very happy with that. Pardon me. And then now, also had a crack at a cleaver. Never used it, don't need a cleaver. Well, I've tried it, but I don't need a cleaver. But yeah, there we are. It's just different ideas and things you can do. Again, I have moved on and made myself a 2x72, which helps a lot. You don't need it to make knives, depending how many you want to make, that's all. I have made that, and adding equipment to my little garage here as I go. As I get a little bit of extra coin, I'll buy what I need. I've made myself and you'll see in the videos, a DIY forge with a frosty tea burner, and got a benchtop oven for tempering them. So that's all good. I've made a couple of these. These are just little, what I call a bird and trout. Just a slightly variation on the 4-inch one. Here's another one here with a cross carry. Good little blades. Pretty happy with those as well. Not really a kitchen knife, but that's another option I'll send to my mother. She can try that one out. So what else have we got sitting on the table? Some guys in industry gave me some old broken bandsaw blades. You can see in the videos of how I make a steak knife, and I thought, well, if I can make something that fiddly and stuff, I can make anything probably, but who knows. So anyway, the old bandsaw blades, when they break, the guys gave them to me rather than chuck them out. So I made a steak knife. I've got a video on that, got the shakes on, never mind. So that was pretty cool, and I make myself a fish filleting knife like that one there. It's got the PVC sheath, and that works really well. I haven't caught a fish since I made that one, but I have cut fish in the kitchen with it. So there you go, maybe my luck will turn at some stage. So I made a couple of those. Got another one here in a leather sheath. Like I say, I'm enjoying the leather work as much as I am enjoying making the knives. That's got a, don't know what that handle is, something I should have labelled it. Some guys I work with gave me some hardwoods, told me what they were, and I forgot about a week later. I should have labelled them, but never mind, there you go. So that's those ones there. Another variation, something I tried, was this here. I made a carry sheath for it. You can see that there, this is what I use in the barbecue. So the knife comes out almost like a half cleaver. Good little blade, 1084, works really good. So you can carry it there like that. That comes out of there. You can put that wherever you like, and this here again just clips over your belt. You can carry it left or right-handed. And this old beastie here, just an experiment for a different sort of design. I tend to think I don't make weapons. I don't want to make weapons. I just make functional tools that work. But I tried a little bit of a different design on that one there. Call that the Shark Slayer. That's spring steel as well, and it works yeah, it's a good little knife. Sheath maybe not the best, but I'm getting there with that. So that's just about the job done. This one here, have to say, I'll be honest, that's probably the worst sheath I've ever made, because it works, but it's too tight down here. I will make another sheath one day when I get some more leather. The knife, tried another design for a camping knife. G10 handles, brass bolsters. It's about 4 or 5 mil thick. It's quite a heavy blade, but it's razor sharp too. It's quite a heavy blade, but that's what I'll take camping for doing the cooking and the so forth when we ever do that outdoorsy stuff, which we do now and again in the summer. So that's about where I'm up to. One thing you will note too, I'm starting to try my hand. Made myself a folding knife here. Not a bad effort for a first one. Like that, it's pretty good. Don't do that when you close it. I did that the other day like that and flicked it around and cut my finger. Not ideal, but one good thing, it is it's held, it's done a bit of cutting and it's held the edge. It just tapped my finger and it put a cut on it. So yeah, that's my first ever folding knife. So I'll have a crack at a few more of those. Tend to use that quite a bit now, to be fair. And the last video I made before this will go to air is the dirty old river find, where I took the leaf spring I found in the river and just made up this little thing, wrapped a paracord handle around it. There we are, those two little blades there. So yeah, I don't know if you're really interested in all that sort of stuff, but what I will say is if you're thinking of getting into knife making, you don't really need a lot of gear to start out. You can do it by hand. It's a lot of work, but you can do it. You can use files. Yeah, ideally you need to heat treat stuff, so you know, you can get yourself a, make yourself a little forge. I did have someone say who was a knife maker came and, like I said, I made another 2x72 and I ran out of money, so I sold it and then made another one. And he said he wouldn't be able to make it himself. If you can make a knife and you follow the rules, and you can find reasonably cheap stuff online for designs, and yeah, you can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So you can make a lot of the gear you need and build it up as you go. You can do this with files, like I said, sandpaper, and yeah, you can get yourself going. So I'd recommend have a go if that's what you're into. I love it, and that's why I do it. That's why I've got a box full of knives, because I don't really use them. I don't use them all at once. I only need one knife generally, but I make the knives, put them in the box and move on to something else. That's just what I do. So yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there, and that'll do for this afternoon. So to all those lovely people who have subscribed, that really does help me out a lot. And if there's any videos you want me to make about my process or anything else, just sing out, let me know, and I'll endeavour to do my best to create it. So on that note, I hope you really, this video finds you all in good health and you have a really great day.